Let me tell you a story to chill the bones about a thing that I saw. Hey everybody, what's up? Just in case you thought this wasn't a matter of life and Maiden, the podcast of the beast, you're wrong because it is. Decided to start it off a little weird there at the beginning. That's me, I'm Joe Labriola, that's what I do.
And I'm Matt Wagner, I don't do that.
Matt does not do that. But hey guys, welcome back to a matter of life and Maiden, the podcast of the beast. Today we're talking about the album from the lyric I just sung, Dance of Death, 2003 Iron Maiden album.
13th, lucky number 13.
Lucky number 13, the second album to feature the modern day lineup of the six-piece band, and the second album recorded with producer Kevin Shirley at the helm. Wildest Dreams. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this song I didn't really like for a long time because you just came from the previous Brave New World album. You had Wicker Man open it, and now you're comparing that. From now on, you're comparing every Maiden opener to Wicker Man out of the modern lineup. And honestly, like, Wilder Stream doesn't come close to Wicker Man. I don't think anybody thinks it does.
I agree with you on that, but
it's unfair. It's unfair to judge it that way. Now,
is.
in terms of just taking it as a song, it's a fine song. It's a nice rocker. It's good to just like drive down the road and listen to.
I love the song too because we talk about, this is an Adrian Smith song, my favorite guitarist in the band, one of my favorite members in the band. Another thing I love about the song is, Matt said it's a nice rocker. It's nice enough, get in the car and just listen to it. I really like that it touches on the idea of humanity, like, and who you want to be as a person. I really like that. Adrian Smith is, like, known for writing that kind of stuff. If you look back, this song, it never really hit me until recently, like the past couple of years, but it really has a wasted years kind of vibe to it, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that he continues to carry that. I mean, this is like into really modern stuff too. Even after this album, he has that kind of vibe, and I get that.
It reminds me of kind of like how we talked about how like Steve went through tough times during the X Factor. How every song was kind of like really depressing and stuff, and that's like everybody in their life, or most people in their lives goes through a period like that. And this song kind of reminds me of like you got past that kind of stuff, and you're like, I'm never going back to that again. I'm going to be a better person. And that's kind of like what Wildest Dreams is about. It's about going out and getting, realizing your dreams and doing what you want to do. And, not being depressed, not being in yourself.
Yeah, and I think I read somewhere too before that this song is about the band and how much they love playing together. This is like, they're really living their wildest dreams right now, Playing as a six-piece band. They just, like Matt said, they had Brave New World.
They're not going to be complacent. They're going to go out and take it.
They're going to fulfill their wildest dreams, and their wildest dream is to be the six-piece band and to conquer the world they destroy with Brave New World. We just talked about Rock on Rio in the previous podcast, how amazing that was. Wildest Dreams is basically saying, hey, we're thankful for doing that stuff, and we're still going to do it, and that's what we're going to do. I love this song. I love Adrian Smith's solo. We got to see this live. Really highlighted the performance. It's a good live song. I thought it was awesome. It was a good, it was a crowd pleaser.
I always compare this to the other Maiden openers. The other one that comes to mind is Different World, off of the Marilyn Death album. And I always like Different World more, and you always like Wildest Dreams a little bit more. So it was kind of like, I'm not going to say like one's really that much better than the other, but I think it's just personal preference. Yeah. And you said it connects, Wildest Dreams connects to you a little bit more.
Yeah, I love Different World too, though. The reason why, again, because Adrian Smith wrote it. My favorite guitar.
They're similar. That's what I make. They're similar songs, and along with Wicker Man, it's a similar song. But I think Wicker Man was the like perfected version. You're kind of getting a little bit diminished here.
Yeah, I'd say in terms of openers, that's true. And I do want to say I like some lyrics in the songs. I'm going to organize some changes in my life. I'm going to exorcise the demons of my past. I like that one. And
I like the part too is like, and when I remember back to how things used to be and I was stuck inside a shroud of misery, I like that part a lot too.
That's great. It's great too. I love it. And the chorus is awesome too.
It's kind of hard not to see this like version too with the Death on the Road too, and just like Bruce up there singing is like, it helps you visualize like the song a little bit more.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Death on the Road too. We're going to do a part 2 of this Dance of Death, where we talk about the Death on the Road concert DVD. It's based around the Dance of Death album. Wildest Dreams is amazing.
When I'm feeling down and low, I vow I'll never be the same again. I just remember what I am and visualize what I'm going to be. Mm-hmm. It's a great line, too. I think anybody, if you're ever feeling like you're slipping, a little bit sad, you're getting a little depressed, you're getting a little stuck in the mud, just think about this song and maybe it'll help you. we realize that you need to visualize what you want to be, and that's go there.
One of my favorite parts of the song too is when Bruce goes. He's like whispering almost. He's like, "I want to break away," and then Adrian starts building the sail. It's like, and he just goes like unleashes it. It's awesome.
And it builds up and is I'm on my way. Yeah, I can appreciate this song. It's not one of my favorites.
What about Rainmaker?
This is the Davey song here, and it's one of those songs that when you hear it, you can kind of it feels like a rain song, it feels like it's raining or something. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. You know what I mean? It feels blue. It if I kind of get that feeling, like a visualization of it's very it brings up imageries in my head of that.
It does. I love the song too. As much as I love What Streams and I love Adrian, I think they should actually be switched. I think Rainmaker should have been the opener on the album, and I think What Streams should have been the second song. That's personally my preference. I think it would flow better that way.
Yeah, I think the lyrics, like we talked about Brave New World, have really awesome lyrics, and I think that continues here on Dance of Death.
Absolutely. Wild Streams has amazing lyrics. Rainmaker has fantastic lyrics. I just think if I were to pop Dance of Death into the to the computer or my car stereo or just a record player or whatever, and it would have started with it would have been a little more catchy, And
yeah.
I don't know. Wild Streams is awesome to start too, but I think Rainmaker's a little catchier. I think it should have been the first one, but Davey's solo and it's amazing. The lyrics, my favorite line in the lyric is like the beginning when he says, "As I was wandering in the desert, I was searching for the truth. I heard a choir of angels calling out my name." I just picture this guy just walking through, and the chorus too, when he's like, "You tell me we can't stop the rain. You tell me that we all can change. You tell me we can find something to wash the tears away." I love that part. It's very, very emotional. I love it.
Yeah. And he goes, "And I know of the pain that you feel, the same as me, and I dream of the rain as it falls upon the leaves." He's talking about a guy whose life's it's getting a bit much, and he's hit a dry spell, literally, and he's just he wants relief from it, and he's praying for the rain. And I think that's what the song's about, is that to wash him away and to revitalize him. Exactly. Which is two song kind of similar themes though from the album.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's cool.
They're hitting that point in life when people usually hit a midlife crisis too. So you gotta remember, these are middle-aged guys now. They're in their 40s. It's stuff that's gonna be relevant to them.
Yeah, and also in the theme of the way the album works too, the album's called Dance of Death. These are songs we just talked about, Wildest Dreams and Rainmaker, where it's talking about you're dancing with death every day. There's decisions you're going to make that are going to affect you when you're gone. Like we kind of talked about with Brave New World and Thin Line Between Love and Hate, we talked about that. It's make sure you go out there and live your wildest dreams. Make sure, if you're in a bad place, have faith and just try to carry on. The rain's going to eventually come. It's never going to be as bad as, you're only going to be stuck there for so long. It can only get better from here, kind of mentality.
Yeah, the bad times always end, and droughts don't last forever. It will eventually rain.
Exactly. Davey's solo is pretty awesome.
Yeah, Davey always has his signature songs on albums usually have his best solo, and I think Rainmaker is one of his best ones from the album.
Yeah, I gotta say that Davey's, the melody in this too, I did it 4 times, and that's Davey. That's awesome. Compared to the Brave New World stuff, though, I will say that Rainmaker, I don't think lives up to the song Brave New World. Doesn't live up to Nomad or Thin Line Between.
Honestly, I think it's going to be kind of a theme here with this album, is that they do kind of hit a sophomore slump with this. That they had all that energy and excitement of coming back and being a band, and now you're 3 years after that, 4 years after that, and you have to write another album, and the energy's kind of down a little, I think. And now you have to actually figure out how to be a band and write together and stuff like that. And it took them a little bit to figure it out, and this album's kind of a process of figuring out. You're going to get some of these really bright spots in this album that are really, really great, which kind of sets the tone for the rest of their till modern times. But you're also going to see some of this stuff misses, and they kind of don't do that stuff again. They kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work with this album.
I agree with you.
There's not another song. I don't think they ever written another song like Rainmaker since.
No, they haven't. It's unique. And we talk about it all the time, like, every single album they do is unique. We'll talk about, the schemes and the colors and what things represent a little bit later, but what about No More Lies?
Yeah, this is Steve's Epic off the album. It's one of the more unique songs Steve's ever wrote.
I love the lyrics, man. I love everything that he says and the verses and the choruses and everything.
I think the lyrics are better than the music.
Yeah.
I think the music's like not very interesting off of this song, but the lyrics are.
I love it.
There's darkened sky before me. There's no time to prepare. Salvage the last horizon, but no regrets from me.
Maybe I'll be back some other day, Live alone, can say. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
What shape or form that I might be, there's another chance for me.
I'll tell you, like, my favorite line in this whole song is they're all sitting at my table, talking tall and drinking wine. Their time is up just like me, but they just don't know it yet. And I remember talking to Joe about this a couple weeks ago, about how I thought that line. One day I was sitting there, like, listening to this song, and I was like, I think it's about, like, I don't know this for sure, but I kind of pictured, like, Steve sitting with the band, like, around Virtual 11 time, and things weren't going as well for the band, and he's like, he kind of saw, like, the end picture, like, Iron Maiden's not going to make it, like, if we stay like this, and maybe all the band was sitting around at their table, drinking wine and talking and stuff, and, their time was up just like his was. He was going through some financial difficulties, too, and he kind of had this, like, epiphany where he realized it and they didn't. So that's what I thought that line was about. Maybe the whole song's about that, too. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be about that. And then, like, if you're looking at it in a more, like, general sense of what it could be about, obviously, their time is up just like me, but they just don't know it yet. Like, everybody's going to meet the Grim Reaper eventually. Everybody's going to die.
Yeah, you could look at that, too. I don't know if that's what it was about for sure or not, but I think it's about being honest with yourself, mostly, what the song's about.
Yeah. And like Matt said, it could also be thinking about the death of Maiden as a whole at that point in time, So
just a word of warning, when you're in your deepest dreams, there's nothing you can hide from. I've got my eye on you. So it's kind of like time. I think like, you can lie to yourself, and it might make your day better or your week better, but you can't lie to yourself forever. Eventually, you gotta come to terms with stuff. And that's what I think this song's about, Steve, is like, there's gonna be no more lies. I'm gonna, like, face stuff. Be honest with myself.
Yeah, be honest, because you don't know when your time's gonna be up, because death comes for us all.
I don't think, like, out of Steve's epics go, I think it's one of the weaker ones that he's done. And we saw this song live during the Final Frontier tour, and I don't know, I don't think it's never been one that really, like, connected with me personally.
I liked it. I mean, I thought it was cool live. I thought it was different.
It is one of those different songs because of, like, the chorus is no more love. Yeah. Like, it does have a kind of unique feeling, and this whole album has this kind of, like, minstrelly feel to it. Like, it has its own kind of unique production. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, this album all has this kind of, like, Renaissance medieval kind of feel to it, which is kind of cool.
Matt and I talked about this the other day. We'll talk about it on Death on the Road. It has, like, a really medieval kind of European sort of castle-y kind of, like Matt said, like a Renaissance kind of, like a feel. It's neat. It's interesting to talk about it. About Montsegur.
And the gates and the walls on Montsegur,
blind the stones of the citadel.
I think this song's about, like, the Knights Templar, isn't it? When they got
it's about the Cathars.
Oh, the Cathars, that's what it was. The Cathars, when they got slaughtered up in Montsegur.
The Montsegur fortress.
Yeah, Steve has this, like, I don't know what you call it, like a battle with religion or what, but he likes to point out the hypocrisy of religion, especially with, like, Christianity. And this is one of those songs that I think he, like, points that out.
Yeah, I like the part, and I like the line in the song. It says the Book of Old Testament is crippled in black.
Satan, his weapon is lost.
Yeah, that part's awesome.
Yeah, I think, like, this song kind of reminds me of, like, The Pilgrim, too, like, in the next album, but, like, this is probably, like, one of their heaviest songs that they've ever done.
It's, another thing about it, too, that I think is interesting is, Brave New World really didn't have that, historical kind of attachment to with a lot of the songs. I mean, unless you're...
Well, the Catholics, they were sort of like this, they were heretics, right? Mm-hmm. And supposedly, I guess in lore, like Grell lore, they knew that Jesus and Mary Magdalene had a child. They knew about the blood of Christ, that he had a son. And in like the Holy Grail myth, they part of the story is that they were slaughtered by the Catholic Church because they knew this secret. Mm-hmm. And that's what, like, the one line in this, where it says, centuries later, I wonder why, what secret they took to their grave. Exactly. Still burning heretics under our skies, religion still burning inside. And that's what the song's kind of like about. It's like, what did they know? Why were they slaughtered?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. It's, they both, you know, much like some of the other stuff.
Like there's that line that says, as we killed them all, so God will know his own. The innocents died for the Pope on his throne. Catholic creed and his paranoid zeal. Yeah. Curse of the Grail and the blood of the cross.
I think they believed, too, that, like, the New Testament God was the true God and the Old Testament God was, like, evil. Yeah. I think that was one of the things that they believed, too. Which, I mean, I guess a belief is a belief, but, yeah. And then,
I mean, like, a lot of these lyrics are very, like, descriptive. It was like facing the sun as they went to their grave, burn like a dog, or you live like a slave. Mm-hmm. Death is a price for your soul's liberty. Stand with the Cathars to die and be free. It's like you had to like die in this world to be free in the next, and you had to like choose that. I mean, that's can you imagine like facing that like dilemma of dying in this like willingly in this earth for the potential of being clean and free in the next. I mean, that's like a crazy image to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what they do, they burn 244 of the Cathars like en masse at this fortress or something like that in France, which it ties into that whole medieval aspect. I mean, this murder and the burning or whatever of the Cathars took place in like the 13th century. So this whole album has that medieval vibe, like we talked about. I mean, No More Lies had that minstrelly sound to it. This has the historical connotation and the meaning behind it. It's very, very interesting. And, I mean,
it's a heavy song for, like, a dark subject.
And this album is pretty, this album is pretty heavy. I mean, in some places. There are a lot of heavy parts in this. We'll talk about some of the heavier parts later, too. Mm-hmm. But that folk stuff really comes across in this album a lot more than it does on Brave New World. In Brave New World, we talked about how Dreamer Mears kind of had that minstrelly sound. Maybe a little bit on Ghost of the Navigator. On this, that folky sound that was maybe influenced by Janik and maybe by other members of the band, like in Seventh Son, is really coming in too. Monsigor is an example that's not like that, but I think it should be noted the diversity this album has too. There's heavy stuff on it, and there's also like this really light sounding stuff, and there's a mixture of everything on here. It's a different album from Brave New World, where Brave New World kind of had its own sound throughout the entire album. This one here has kind of like a more...
Well, it's kind of like a staple of Iron Maiden is that they don't do the same thing twice in a row.
Exactly. I give the band credit for that, you know. The next song on the album is the title track, The Dance of Death.
Like, I think this song becomes kind of like, along with another one on this album, like the future of Iron Maiden as a modern band, is that they kind of end up writing songs similar to the style of Dance of Death. The epicness, the storytelling, the dramatics of it, I think, become like a staple of their live show and their albums.
I love it. We didn't really mention, Monsigor was also written by Yannick Gears. Dance of Death is written by Yannick Gears too, so two in a row. Monsigor was Yannick, Dance of Death is Yannick.
Yeah, this is like up there with Yannick's best songs he ever wrote.
Yeah, the beginning of the song starts off with a really acoustic-y sounding stuff, like I said at the beginning of this podcast. Let me tell you a story to chill the bones. And it just builds and builds.
It's kind of like Fear of the Dark, but like a better version, a more improved version of Fear of the Dark.
Yeah, it's an amazing song. I never get tired of listening to it. We saw this live too, and it was fantastic. Bruce comes out with like a Grim Reaper cloak on. It's
one of the better like live songs out of any of the newer stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. The solos in it by all three guitarists are amazing. There's a middle bridge part that's like and then like
I love the lyrics like feeling scared I fell to my knees as something rushed me from the trees took me to an unholy place, and that is where I fell from grace. Like, this idea of, like, this guy, like, drunk walking through, like, the Everglades down in Florida, and he's kind of, like, loses his way, and all of a sudden, like, he sees something, like, rushed him from the trees, and, like, they drag him away until, like, this place, and there's, like, this big, like, bonfire in the middle, and there's, like, these dead people, and they're, like, dancing. It's kind of like, you know, a voodoo or cannibalism kind of thing. The images of that, it's pretty, like, amazing. They do capture that in, like, the lyrics of the song.
It is awesome. The thing is, Everglades is pretty, like, unique. We have trouble trying to figure out what this is. Like, the term Everglades, like, nowadays, because we're United States citizens, and Nico actually lives in Florida. I don't know if that's what happened, if they were maybe at a party together, hanging out.
Looking at the lyrics, Everglades is not capitalized. Yeah. So I don't know if that's the Everglades, or if it's just, like, an area of Everglades.
Well, yeah, really, yeah. Everglades in general is like a glade. It's like a place that has like a lot of forestry around it.
So this could be in like
this could be in medieval. Europe. This could be a medieval place. This could be
or Africa or wherever. I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly think that it's like a forested area somewhere in like a garden almost. This guy's walking through a garden.
I just love Bruce singing the lyrics of the song. You know, as if time had stopped still, I was numb with fear, but still I wanted to go. And the blaze of the fire did no hurt upon me as I walked into the coals.
And I felt I was in a trance, and my spirit was lifted from me. And if only someone had the chance to witness what happened to me.
I mean, it's like, you just like want to sing along to this and just like listen to the lyrics. I mean, it's one of the better storytelling songs they've ever done. I like the part where he's like, lifeless figures, they were undead, all of them. They had ascended from hell. Amazing. This is one of the most catchiest tunes they've ever written. It's so fun to sing to, like Matt said, it's so fun to listen to. The lyrics are powerful. The way it's constructed and the way it tells the story is powerful. It's a great stage performance. It's an epic song. It's fantastic. I love it. One of Yannick's best. Yeah, when you know that your time has come around, you know you'll be prepared for it. Say your last goodbye to everyone. Drink and say a prayer for it. That's my favorite line of the whole song.
It's amazing. And this whole album talks about this idea of, like Matt said earlier, with like this religious critique is like present throughout the entire thing. It really gives you that medieval vibe because in the Middle Ages, I mean, faith was something that was really, questionable for a lot of people. In the Dark Ages, like a lot of people were losing faith. A lot of people didn't know it was out there. They had to believe in the Word of God, as they said. So it's like, and then we just talked about how the Catholics were like these people who were kind of like hypocrites about like making faith about something that really wasn't.
Faith seems like the topic here of almost every song so far.
Yeah. Where does your faith lie?
It's like a loss of faith in Rainmaker, praying for the rain. Obviously, Montsegur had its own dealings with faith and religion.
One of streams is faith in yourself. Yeah. No More Lies is trying to shed the lies from yourself to be more faithful, like that kind of concept. Yeah. Dance of Death is about like a more,
See, so this isn't Iron Maiden hasn't done a concept album other than Seventh Son, but they have done albums based on themes, and this is, I think, one of them.
This is one of the thematic ones, yeah. We talked about Somewhere in Time being about time. Seventh Son was a concept. And then, obviously...
X Factor had, like, a lot of depression.
And things about surrounding that,
Brave New World is rebirth.
Rebirth concept. And this is kind of about, death and faith and your decisions of what you want to do in your life. Dance of Death, amazing. Love the solos. Fantastic.
Yeah, to this day, I guess I'll never know just why they let me go. But I'll never go dancing anymore.
Till I dance with the dead. Amazing.
It's a great live song. We've seen this song live twice, and it was one of the better songs each time we saw it. It's one of my favorite modern Iron Maiden songs.
Yeah, it's awesome. Same here. I love it. I loved it. It was great to see live.
I'd like to see it live again. In Vivo had a great version of this live too.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I think the In Vivo version was superior to the Dance of Death version, honestly.
Yeah, the Death on the Road version.
Yeah, the Death on the Road version.
It sounded a lot better. What about Gates of Tomorrow?
I think this is like one of the weaker songs on the album. It kind of like up until this point, like the songs have been like pretty interesting, but I think at this point was one of the themes that Iron Maiden was working with was kind of writing these simpler I don't want to use the term poppier, but they were more catchy. They were more radio friendly songs, and they don't do this after this album. But I think there's a couple songs in this album that are very kind of like simplistic with emphasis on catchy choruses, and I think this is one of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Some of the lyrics are cool.
I mean, Iron Maiden's always gonna write like interesting lyrics, especially nowadays. But I mean, like as a song goes, like I mean, this song it's just not like an interest. Like it's not bad to listen to. I'm not saying it's like a terrible song. I'm not saying it's annoying to listen to. It's just not what you expect from Iron Maiden, the right interesting progressive music.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to touch on too. Like in terms of progressive, it doesn't really have that progressive tone to it.
I mean, we just sat here and talked about Dance to Death, like our favorite parts, like the guitars and the lyrics, and how it changes and it goes from soft to the dynamics. And this song has none of that. It has no interesting transitions. It has no interesting dynamics. It has doesn't have any like really interesting melodic parts. It doesn't have those transitions. I don't know.
My favorite part of the songs that I will say is I like when they do the chorus and they actually change the chorus and it's not the same thing repeated over and over again. Like the one part's like, trapped in a web, but I cut the thread, show you the gates tomorrow. Yeah. Trapped in the web, no mercy is shed, show you the gates tomorrow. And then he says, trapped in the web, I like the part where he says, slaves to the dead.
I like the chorus. I like how they like layered Bruce's vocals on top of each other. And it does sound really cool. I'm not saying like it's not, but it's kind of like what brings this album down to me in my like personal view is that it like I don't know another word for it. It's just generic. It sounds generic. And there's a couple other songs in this album that are the same way. It's not what Iron Maiden becomes, and I think it's part of the learning process that they went through with this album that they didn't have to go through on Brave New World. Is like this playing with ideas and what they wanted to do as a band, and they kind of threw this to the side in the future. There's no other songs like Gates of Tomorrow in the future.
Mm-hmm. There are some really good lyrics in it, though. There isn't a God to save you if you can't save yourself. I like that.
But it's more like driving music, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's like, but that's not what Iron Maiden becomes. But it is like a song like, I mean, it's like radio friendly. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's not a bad. I'm not saying that in like a really negative connotation. It's just not what Iron Maiden does.
I do like Bruce too when he says, "Suffering evil when you pay the price of fame." There's a God to save you. You can't save yourself.
I think it's catchy. It's just it's not a song you can listen to like 50 times and still find interesting.
It doesn't have the lasting quality of a lot of their other stuff.
What Iron Maiden does is that as a band they have that lasting quality, which is why they have so many like hardcore fans. Is because you can listen to this stuff 100 times and still find it cool and interesting.
Yeah,
and this isn't it. This is I don't want to listen to Gates of Tomorrow like after a couple times.
Yeah, I agree. It's I don't know. I don't want to say I skip it on the album because I really don't. This is another album I kind of listen to in its entirety. I'll be honest. Even though some of the songs are kind of weaker on it, like I still listen to them. They're not like skippable for me.
It's interesting because this album's like newer. It's a little closer to us in time period, so I think we might relate more to the newer albums than we do for the older ones.
Yeah.
I know this was like a lot of people's like favorite albums that Iron Maiden ever did, like newer fans, the younger fans.
Yeah, even if you watch like the Death on the Road DVD, and we'll talk about that later. Like when they do the interviews before the show starts, they're asking people like what they want to see, and they're listing like 5 or 6 songs off of this album that they want to see.
So it did connect to a lot of people.
What about New Frontier?
You can pretty much just say everything I said about Gates of Tomorrow and repeat it.
That's what I was just gonna say.
It's another generic kind of song. It's kind of just not much to say about. You can like some of the lyrics are okay, but I don't know.
Nico McBrain's only writing credit ever to this date. New Frontier.
I mean that's interesting. That he wrote like the bass. I think he wrote like some of the bass parts to it. No, he didn't like really write the song, but he wrote like a bass riff. They made a song around it.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to say too is Monster Gore, Dance of Death, and Gates Tomorrow. That's 3 Janet Gear songs in a row, which is kind of interesting. And then you get Nico. It seems like the band's experimenting a little bit more and letting people try to, we talk about on Brave New World how they were trying to, like you said, trying to figure out how they work as a band. Now they kind of have to sit down. Steve's probably sitting there like, you never come in with nothing on the, lyrics yet, mate. And then he picks up the bass and writes the stuff.
Bruce has like that just knack for writing lyrics and verses and melodies, and he could play music and he can hum a melody over it like right away. So he's one of those. I think Steve's probably the only musical genius in the band. But like Steve and Adrian are kind of like very, very intelligent songwriters. They're like just a step below Steve in terms of music writing, but what makes the band so great is they have like all this depth of writing. And then you have Janik, who's a great songwriter, and then Dave will contribute, here and there. His contributions are more on the guitar side, and you'll have like those solos that just put songs together, like Iron Maiden. Like usually if you have a classic Iron Maiden song, you need like a classic solo, and that's where usually Dave came in. He's able to put those classic solos to his classic songs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do like some of the lyrics in here. I like the chorus, like, out beyond the new frontier, playing God without mercy.
Yeah, they're kind of like radio friendly. It's like, you could play them on the radio and people would probably be okay with it.
Is it worth the risk? A war of God and man.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I guess the song's kind of about like a Frankenstein sort of creature. And
yeah, sort of.
Or is it about like what man's creating, in the future? Like technology-wise, maybe AI, that kind of thing.
I think it's more about that, to be honest.
And like, I guess it's kind of like the theme, the new frontier is, like, obviously is AI and artificial intelligence, so.
Yeah, it says, what, create a beast, made a man without a soul, or something like that?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it...
So it's kind of like a sci-fi thing.
Yeah.
Which is different than kind of like the rest of the album.
Sci-fi theme, but also, if you're talking about faith and religion, like we talked about before, like, what does it mean to create something? Like, how do you define God? Is that really what,
I always like the part he says, I want to end my life now, but I don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
Recycled again. A lifetime of pain. Spawn of a man. The devil has planned.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Like, it's not, like, really a song that, like, I find that interesting. I used to almost always skip it when I listen to the album.
Yeah, if I were to skip one, I kind of been listening to albums in their entirety now, but yeah, it would probably be Gates of Tomorrow, New Frontier. Obviously, a little bit later we'll talk about, Age of Innocence. I'm probably going to skip that too.
I mean, compared to Brave New World, though, like, we just went down Brave New World and it was like every song was awesome. Now this is a step below Brave New World.
Absolutely. There's no question about that. I'm going to agree with you on that. This is definitely a step below Brave New World. I don't want to say. I mean, it's quite potentially one of the weakest albums I've done since the reunion, if not the weakest. It's still good. I mean, it's a great album. Yeah. Just a couple duds on it.
It's very unbalanced. It has some really great songs, and then it just has some like bad songs.
Or
not bad, but mediocre.
As I said, I don't want to say bad. But...
Yeah, they're kind. Well, you have songs that are like super interesting, like Dance to Death, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have songs like Gates of Tomorrow, which is the opposite. I mean, it's just weird how they wrote stuff like that. And in the future, they don't do that anymore. So, I mean, they kind of mastered. By the time you get to the next album, Matter of Life and Death, like, you kind of see, like, they had to go through this growing pain to come out with something better.
Exactly. Still, even though the album is unbalanced, it's worlds better than any of the 90s stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Before.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not like, lump this into the category of the 90s stuff. This is still a great album. It is a great album. But this is still fantastic. When we say these songs are, not as good as Dance of Death or like Not Listenable, they're still like 6 or 7 out of 10 songs. It's not like No Prayer for the Dying and Fear the Dark, where we're giving like songs on the album like 2s or 3s or stuff like that.
We skip some of those songs completely. Like, I don't want to talk about this song. Let's just skip it.
Yeah, the 3 weakest songs on
Weekend Warrior or something. This isn't Weekend Warrior bad. It's just not as good as we'd been expecting from Modern Maiden.
Exactly. The next song on the album is one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs. I mean, it's top 5 for me. And again, written by my favorite guitarist, Passchendaele. Wow. I
think Passchendaele is like right up there with anything Iron Maiden's ever written. That includes Rhyme the Ancient Mariner, Hallowed Be Thy Name. It's in that group of songs. It belongs in that group. This was the song that they had nothing written for before they got in the studio. And Adrian started messing around with that, like, tapping part at the beginning, and, it's just one of those things where, like, Bruce was like, well, that's really interesting, and he started playing around with it, and Steve comes over, hey, what are you guys doing? And he starts, like, messing around, and that's, organically, they wrote lyrics, and they made Passchendaele, which is one of the best songs they ever done.
Yeah, I think Steve scribbled down the lyrics for it.
I mean, it's amazing how they could just write a song like that, and I think that's in the future how they end up writing a lot of their songs.
It's just...
This is the framework here that this song is what they use to write all their other epics they do from now on.
Yeah, that's Passchendaele is just, like Matt said, he hits home on everything with that. I mean, it's The way
In a
it's
foreign
sung.
field he lay, lonely
Oh,
soldier,
wow.
unknown grave. On his dying words he prays, tell the world of passion, no.
It's so heavy, and like Matt said with that beginning part with Adrian, I think Steve actually came to Adrian and said he saw him playing this, and it sounded so haunting, and he was like, "This sounds so haunting." And he said, I think Steve said, like in his head, he actually thought about World War I and the Battle of Passion to like right there, and just started scribbling shit down.
Steve's a musical genius. I mean, a lot of you guys out there will criticize Steve, and rightfully so. He made some bad mistakes in terms of band direction and that kind of stuff. But the guy is a musical genius. If you're like listening to this, you like Iron Maiden, it's because Steve's a genius. He came up with this idea of Iron Maiden. Everything he does, everything the band does, is because of him. So I mean, and then he writes. Relive all that he's been through, last communion of his soul, rust your bullets with his tears, let me tell you about his years.
Another heavy song.
I mean, I could just sit here and read the lyrics for the
Laying low in a blood-filled trench.
My face you feel the falling rain, never see my friends again.
In the smoke and the mud and lead. It's so good.
Smell the fear, the feeling of dread. Soon be time to go over the wall.
Rapid fire in the end of our soul.
I probably listened to this song like 300 times in my life.
Everything about the song. One of my favorite parts of the song.
I would not change a thing about it. This song is perfect.
This song is 10 out of 10.
It is, like I said, it's in that vein of Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, Hallowed Be Thy Name. It's a perfect song. It is as good as it gets with Iron Maiden.
When I want to say favorite parts of the songs, I don't even know where to begin, man, because...
Like I said, you might as well just read the lyrics. That's my favorite part. My favorite part of the song is just everything.
Everything about the song, every lyric in the song is just amazing. What's another one of your favorites, man?
Battlefield, nothing but a bloody tomb. Be reunited with my dead friends soon. Many soldiers, 18 years, drown in mud, no more tears. Surely a war no one can win. Killing time about to begin. Amazing.
Home far away.
Amazing.
It's a chorus.
If you like modern Maiden, it's because of Passion, Delve.
Another part that I love, like you touched on the vein of like Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner and all the epics, when it has that like breakdown part and it's like the bodies of all that are foes, like screaming it. I mean, it's amazing. The sea of death, it overflows. No man's land, God only knows. Two jaws of death we got. Another thing about the song is about death. It fits into the concept of the album 100%. The theme of the album 100%. It's about death. It's about World War I. It's about the Battle of Passchendaele, where you have like... You have people drowning in mud.
Yeah, can you guys out there tell that me and Joe really like this song? It's like the energy like blew up when we started talking about Passchendaele. It's amazing.
Top 5. It's probably number 4 for me.
We haven't had a song like this since, like Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I mean, it's that good. It's one of those.
It's flawless. Like we said, 10 out of 10.
It has everything. It has the guitar solos in the song.
Oh,
Adrian, Dave, and Janik put together like amazing solos.
Amazing. And then I love Nico on the hi-hat too, like
yeah. It's everything. It's lyrics, it's songwriting. Nico's drumming's amazing. Bruce vocals are godlike.
Amazing, and I love when they did the Death on the Road version. He comes out with like a Hungarian war helmet on, and he's walking around this barbed wire. There's there's shells. It's just like wow. And I love the end when he goes back into the tapping part. And he says, "See my spirit on the wind, across the lines beyond the hill. Friend and foe will meet again. Those who died at Passchendaele." And it just ends. He's like Passchendaele, and it just ends. It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many lyrics in the song I love. Swear I heard the angels cry, pray to God, no more may die, so the people know the truth, tell the tale of Passchendaele.
It's perfect.
Cruelty as a human heart, every man does play his part. Terror of the men we kill, the human heart is hungry still. As I stand my ground for the very last time, gun is ready as I stand in line. Nervous wait for the whistles to blow. Rush of blood and over we go.
Amazing.
I mean, like we talked before about Iron Maiden, what made them great is that their storytelling part of their songs, and this is one of the best, if not the best storytelling they've ever done in a song.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, you would think
it's the best song that Iron Maiden's written since the classics of the 80s. I mean, since their golden era.
That's what I was gonna say. It's something that sounds like it should be on Power Slave or something.
It'd fit. It'd fit right there.
It's just if this was on Power Slave.
Best album of all time.
Wow. I mean, it already is amazing, but put this on there, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, we already think it's like the best metal album of all time. It'd be like right up there.
But this is Passchendaele. Nothing but amazing things to say about it. I've listened to this
Even
song.
the end part, the home far away,
It's just
from the war, a chance to live again.
home far away, but the war, no chance to live again. I mean, it's wow.
Everything.
I mean, I'm not even looking at the lyrics, and I'm just like, no, it's just like it's amazing. Like it's just.
I've never met anybody that didn't like Passchendaele, as like, or a Maiden fan that didn't like Passchendaele. It's one of those songs that universally Maiden fans love.
Amazing.
You have to love it.
What about Face in the Sand?
I say Face of the Sand's kind of like a mid-level song on this album. It's kind of in the middle. I like Face in the Sand, the subject matter about it, and I like the lyrics, and it kind of reminds me of the Tool song Vicarious, where they're kind of like staring at, like people like watch TV, and you're like waiting for something bad to happen so you could watch it. I mean, it's kind of like, it's really weird and disturbing. But that, especially this happened back when, in the early 2000s after 9/11, and people watched the news a lot because of like, it was almost just like, you're like a dread of what's going to happen, and you couldn't like get out in front of the TV.
Again, I mean, it's really the general scope of the song deals with death. I mean, that's pretty much what it's about. And there's lines in here where he says, like, I wait for the signs, they tell me the truth, I see the signs of the end of time. Well, the end of time is death, so.
Well, it's just saying, like, everybody's waiting for something to happen, everybody's waiting for something to see. Lunatics waiting for bigger disasters, everyone's waiting for news on TV. It was like, I think this album came out right before the Iraq War. And it was like that. Every day it was like, I don't know, like you always heard about, I was obviously around, but you heard about, like, before World War I, World War II, there was this war fever. And it just kind of like, especially before World War I, just talking about Passchendaele, it was like, there was this feeling of, like, war, inevitability of war, that there was going to be a war. And even in the country, like, you can't explain it. If you read about World War I and the pre-war and everything, it was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everybody knew it was coming, but there was no reason why it had to happen. There was no reason why World War I should have ever happened. It was kind of like this self-fulfilled prophecy of doom, and that's kind of like what this is. It's kind of like everybody's waiting for it to happen, and because everybody's waiting for it to happen, it was almost like it should happen. That we're all just sitting around watching our TVs waiting for this war to happen. It's only natural that the war should happen. That we shouldn't just sit here and watch TV for no reason. There almost like needed to be a reason for our anxiety and our worrying that we needed an enemy, and back then Iraq was that enemy. It was a self-fulfilling war. Like we were angry, we were scared. Yeah, we should attack somebody. There should be a war. There should be consequences, and
hence the line. I mean, even the title of the song.
Anybody out there that says they were against the Iraq War before it happened was not very vocal, or not very many people were that vocal. There were very few people, and then after it happened, you kind of got that phase where like the glaze over your eyes went away, and you were like, "What did we just do?" And it was kind of like that happened. Like, it was just like
Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, it was just this like, they call it war fever back in like before World War I and World War II. It was like war fever. Like you just, I don't know how to explain it. Like if you ever go and read the book, All Quiet on the Western Front, he talks about it before the war started, that everybody was excited for the war.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great movie too.
Yeah, both of them, the original and the 1972 or 73 release of it was really good. And the book's really good. Go get all three.
Yeah, they are fantastic.
And it's like a perfect example of like what I was just kind of talking about here. It's like everybody's nightmares are going to happen. Everybody's ripping the mask from their eyes. Everyone's praying, but no one's believing. Everyone's heroes tells everyone's lies.
I love it. I like the part two where it says, "So I watch and I wait and I pray for an answer, an end to the strife and the world's misery. But the end never came, and we're digging the graves and we're loading the guns for the kill." I love it.
Yeah, it's similar to it's kind of like a modern day, like Afraid to Shoot Strangers, but it's from the point of view of like, not from the soldier's point of view, but like zoomed out. So like guy watching TV news or reading the newspaper, his view, and he's kind of like see like Steve or sitting there like, man, this is like crazy. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, and can the end be at hand? Is our face in the sand? And I like the line, "Future memory of our tragedy." And there's like a question mark there. Like, is this the future memory of our tragedy or not?
Yeah.
Are we really killing ourselves by going to war? Is this something that we're going to be known for? And it goes back to touching on like the stuff on Brave New World and future stuff on Matter of Life and Death. Like, what is the legacy that we're going to leave after this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great subject matter song. Like I said, it's similar to Toll song Vicarious. If you ever never heard that song, go listen to that song. It's really, really good. And this song here is like, it's one of the, I think it's the only song where it features
double bass.
Yeah,
by Nico.
He has one bass drum, but it has 2 bass pedals. So it's interesting. It's an interesting sound. It's a really unique Iron Maiden song. It's one of those that they never did again, or never sounded like anything like this ever again.
Age of Innocence.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the weakest song on the album, I think.
Yeah, it's probably one of my. It's probably my weakest too. I'd rate it.
If you're gonna skip a song on this album, it's Age of Innocence.
Davey.
Yeah, you kind of missed the mark on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what we said about Gates Tomorrow on New Frontier too. It's not really. I don't want to say it's radio play friendly because it's really not. I think it kind of.
It's like, I don't know, like, it's just generic. It's Iron Maiden generic. It's like Iron Maiden's not trying. I know they tried. I'm not saying they didn't, but it was like they didn't. It felt like that. I do like some of the lyrics, though.
We only get one chance and we take it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of these, like, even the bad songs, like Gates Tomorrow, like, had an awesome chorus. You know, there was things we took from the other songs. It's hard to take, like, anything from this song.
I don't know. I think I disagree with that. I think you can take some stuff from it. I do like it. No, it might be the weakest song on the album. I don't know. It's kind of grown on me. I listened to Dance of Death last week, and I listened to Age of Innocence probably 2 or 3 times. Like you said, it doesn't sound like Maiden. I think that's one of the things that, you know, that kind of cast it a little bit lower on the list of things. Much like Gates Tomorrow, much like New Frontier, it doesn't have that really cohesive energy or quality that you know, Brave New World has, and it just doesn't really fit the scheme of the rest of the album. And I know you had mentioned this, you know, that you and I talked about before. I had a theory before where I think Iron Maiden in the modern era has a really good time when they write albums that are 10 songs long. Yeah. I think it worked for them. Every album they have, it's only 10 songs, and 10 songs only is amazing. There's probably not one bad song on those albums. On this album, there's 11 tracks. In Book of Souls, there's 11 tracks, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But I think this album could have sounded probably a little bit better if you were to take maybe Age of Innocence, Gates Tomorrow, or New Frontier off the album. And I think they're just trying to please everyone. They're trying to please the fans now. They're trying to make sure they cover all the bases.
Just sitting here thinking, what's one word that we usually we mention when we talk about Iron Maiden albums recently? What's like one word we always mention over and over?
Progress. Yeah.
Did we mention progress or progressiveness at all in this whole album? And then we didn't even do it. Like, I wasn't even thinking about it until right now.
It, yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? That's what was missing. I kept saying generic. I didn't know what the word was. The word is that this album is not progressive at all.
It's not progressive. No, you're
Brave New World was progressive.
Absolutely. And I think that when I talked about like Somewhere in Time and stuff, and we were talking about that album, and I said this was the album that kind of, you know, was the inception of progressive Maiden.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking of Dance of Death when I said that, you know, because Dance of Death is it's progressive in a different way. It's not progressive like Brave New World or Final Frontier or Book of Souls. It's progressive as like it's more folky. I honestly think what they tried to do with this album was like Steve did in the 90s when he went through the darks, when he tried to do dark stuff with Fear of the Dark and he tried to do dark stuff with X Factor. I think he tried to transition that into the modern day and kind of create something that was akin to Number of the Beast, is what I think they tried to do with this album. Same theme.
Yeah, I just think they tried to simplify things, and it didn't work as a whole album goes. But there are, like you said, like Passchendaele's, like, I think an example of what they do in the future. And Dance of Death, the song, is more of what they do in the future. And there's other bright spots, like Face in the Sand's a song that is unique and is interesting, but Gates of Tomorrow, the New Frontier, and Age of Innocence is not like something that I want to hear more of in the future of our Maiden.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like the...
Not that there's not bright spots, there's not stuff you can take from it, not that it's a terrible song or you like skip it. It's just it's not progress, it's not progressive, it's not way that you're not going anywhere, you're not developing any new ground with it.
I think that just goes to show, Matt and I too, as like people and as musicians, and what we like from Maiden.
Yeah, we're definitely like
we like
a Passchendaele.
Yeah,
we like the Dance of Death. We like in the future,
Yeah, you might very well like Gates Tomorrow, New Frontier, and Age of Innocence. They could be your favorite songs on the album, but for us, we're more in the vein of we think Passchendaele and Dance of Death and those kind of songs sound more like the '80s stuff, and we're passionate about the '80s stuff, so we're gonna think that that's better. It's like the '80s stuff, but like on crack. It's like they took the '80s stuff and put made it more progressive.
Yeah, and some people out there like the shorter rockers. Some people out there like the Run to the Hills. Mm-hmm. They like stuff that sounds like the Trooper. And that's why they like, maybe Monster Gore is more of their thing,
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's fine. Everybody has their own, taste and thing. I mean, I'm not saying the Trooper. I love the Trooper, too. But I'm just, using an example of, what style they like more.
That brings us to the last song on the album, Journeyman.
Now, this song, we probably would have mentioned Progress, is that this is, right up there with, Thin Line Between Love and Hate as, a very unique way to end an album.
I agree. I think it's also the first song, and I think the only song up to this point that they do fully acoustic.
It's probably my third favorite song off the album.
Yeah,
maybe even second. Sometimes maybe I like it a little bit more than Dance of Death, but it's right up there.
Same here. That's where I kind of fluctuate between this and Dance of Death. Obviously, Passchendaele is my favorite.
Depends on how I'm feeling and what point I'm at in my life. If you're in a point where you're in between things or you're in transition, maybe Journeyman would, really relate to you more.
Yeah, this is kind of like what the Klansman probably should have been, but better. It's it has that same kind of vibe. The Klansman gives you the whole freedom vibe and to do what you want, but it's a better version of it.
I love it. Like you said, this is the song that sums up the band philosophically perfectly. Mm. From the red sky of the east to sunset in the west, we have cheated death, and he has cheated us. But that was just a dream, and this is what it means. We are sleeping, and we'll dream forevermore. I mean, it's the lyrics in the song are just
it's beautiful, man. Yeah. It's a beautiful song. This is a 10 out of 10 song for me too. It's the same.
It's a perfect song.
Yeah, it's probably second favorite for me after sitting here thinking about it. Dance of Death I like a lot too. I give that probably a 9 out of 10. I think Passchendaele's 10 out of 10. I think this is a 10.
This song with Nico's drumming, his soft the way he drums during the song really I think fits his style from his background as being a jazz musician. It's just perfect.
I do
and
too.
The acoustics on this is people I don't think appreciated Iron Maiden for being their quality as musicians, and this song proves they have that ability to play acoustic, and they have that ability to play those ballads and softer music.
This whole Journeyman thing really reminds me too of just being in touch with nature and being in touch with life. I think that my favorite, every time I listen to the song, my favorite verse is, "But the memory still remains. All the past years, not so strange. Our winter times are like a silent shroud, and the heartbeat of the day drives the mist away. And winter is not the only dream around." I love that line so much. We've never got to see the song live, and this would be another one that I'd love to see live. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it's emotional, man. I listen to it and I'm just wow, wow, this is really what,
I love the lyrics. "In your life you may choose desolation, and the shadows you build with your hands. If you turn to the light that is burning in the night, then this journeyman's day has begun."
Yeah, even the chorus, man. "I know what I want, and I'll say what I want, and no one can take it away." That's amazing.
Yeah. This is a Bruce-style song that I think he really enjoys doing. He likes the acoustic stuff.
And again, Adrian Smith. I'm going to mention that again. Adrian, thank you. Amazing. Thanks for coming back to the band.
This is one of those Adrian, Bruce, and Steve songs that they kick him to write a lot.
Yeah, and I don't want to criticize Dave, and I don't want to criticize Yannick, because Yannick did a hell of a job on Brave New World, and so did Davey. But on this one, Adrian only has, I think, two or three songwriting credits on. Or no, he has a lot. He has.
I think this is when they really started writing. Bruce, Steve, and Adrian started writing a lot of songs together.
Yeah, Adrian has five writing credits on here, so that's a lot.
How many of those are with Bruce and Steve? They all with Bruce and Steve?
Yeah, they're all with Bruce and Steve.
See, this is when they try to do their trio here of songwriting from the future, and especially I think on A Matter of Life. and Death, they write a bunch of songs together as well. So that's kind of like what Modern Maiden becomes, is Bruce, Adrian, and Steve writing songs together. Absolutely. Bruce would do the melodies and a lot of the songwriting. Steve will do a lot of the song lyric writing and putting the song together, and Adrian comes up with a lot of the melodies and the guitars.
And with that being said, now, we just talked about how there was no progress on this. No, not meaning it like in a bad way, but compared to Brave New World. I mean, if you were to take, for instance, let's just say if you were to take Age of Innocence, New Frontier, and Gates Tomorrow off of this album, you'd be left with 9 songs, I think, or 8 songs or something like that. You have a damn good album.
Yeah, and the album will probably still be like longer than a lot of the 80s stuff.
Exactly, and
it's harder nowadays to write like really great albums from start to finish because there's more space to fill. You have to have a song that's 60 minutes plus. Or back in the day, you could write an album 40 minutes and be okay.
But let's move on, man. I mean, we pretty much got, we've said what our favorites are. I'm saying Passchendaele number 1.
Yeah, Passchendaele mine number 1.
Journeyman, and then probably Dance of Death.
I'll probably say, I probably end up, overall, I like Dance of Death more in my life than I do Journeyman, but sometimes I do get in a mood where I'll listen to Journeyman a bunch. But I think that's kind of like how it sums up this album, is that there's 3 really great songs in this album, and then a bunch of songs in the middle.
Exactly.
And you can maybe get like 1 or 2 like mediocre ones. The album, like listenability wise, is I think like unbalanced. Is how I point it out. I'm not saying that like I skip a bunch of songs, but it's more of like a roller coaster than it is like Brave New World was just like straight up, like it was just awesome the whole way through. Where this is kind of like mediocre, great song, back to mediocre. It was kind of like it's a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, I agree with you in that respect. I think in terms of listenability, there's 11 songs on the album, and there's 3 that I could potentially skip, so that's 8.
I mean, it's still not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. It's not like, it's not No Prayer for the Dying bad,
I give listenability on it probably like a 7, 7.5. Yeah. And then in terms of the artwork, let's talk about that.
Oh my god, we didn't even mention that. Let's just say, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here saying that this is the worst piece of art Iron Maiden has ever done.
I agree with you 100%.
Album cover, tour pictures, tour artwork, everything.
Death on the Road cover is awesome.
Death on the Road's awesome, yeah.
But Dance of Death, the album cover, wow.
It is abysmal. It is atrocious.
I think what they did was, because they had the computer-generated stuff on Brave New World, they kind of wanted to head down that vein in that direction.
That was a terrible idea.
Do a departure. But even so, they did it in a way that is not even finished. I mean, there's stuff on this album that just looks
it's like not even good CGI. It's not even good. It's terrible. Like, the problem is, like, without, like, I don't really want to talk about the album cover because everybody out there knows it's bad. The problem is that if this was like another band, like nobody would really care. But the problem is that Iron Maiden, along with like Pink Floyd and like Led Zeppelin and some of those guys, are like
Dio. Let's talk about Dio too. Dio's good.
Their album artwork is like part of the mystique, the culture, is that they make great album covers. I mean, you think about Pink Floyd. When I say The Wall, what do you think about the album artwork? You think about Dark Side of the Moon, the album artwork, or even the Division Bell, the artwork. Iron Maiden is like one of those bands. You think of Power Slave, you think of the art, you think of Number of the Beast, you think of, Somewhere in Time, all the Seventh Son, you just keep naming them, like, all the artwork, and then you think of Dance at Death, and it's just abysmal. Like, that's why it means so much. That's why it's so terrible that it sucks, is because of the Iron Maiden and Eddie and their artwork was entwined with their success.
There's a guy named David Patchett who did the artwork, and he is uncredited, so... That goes to tell you how much faith they had in it, not even crediting the guy.
Why didn't they just like get Derek Riggs to do an art cover? Like, I don't know what I mean, it's so bad. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm like trying to find something redeeming about it. I mean, I guess the Reaper Eddie looks okay. Like,
that's what I was gonna say. The only redeeming quality of this album, I will say this as an art person, all the digital renditions around the Grim Reaper Eddie are horrible. There's like these cloaked figures behind the Grim Reaper that look actually pretty sweet. They're hand-drawn.
Okay.
Those are cool. And
there's like a baby and a bikini standing on top of a wolf, and it looks like garbage.
It does. It doesn't even look like he's standing there. He's like floating there in midair.
It's like if me and Joe had access to like art, like in 10th grade and our Windows 98 computers, we had access to like Photoshop or whatever they used back in the day, we'd come up with a cover that looked just like this.
It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, it is like...
I think nowadays, in modern day, that I could create a cover right now. And I have. Yeah. Okay, here's another thing. I don't know if I mentioned
I could literally... Stevie Wonder could draw a better cover than this.
And he's blind.
Yeah.
All the art sleeves and stuff that we do for the podcast, I've created digitally on my computer. So that just goes to tell you that I can create something right now better than Dance of Death.
There was a guy back in the day that just had the Grim Reaper Eddie standing on the floor with nothing around. And it actually looked a lot cooler than this. Yeah, it looks great. That album cover would be like a 4 out of 10. This is like a 0 out of 10. This is I don't know, because it's hard, because if we're using artwork as a grade for Iron Maiden, which makes sense since that's how like entwined their art is. I mean, how can you give Dance of Death, like, you'd have to dock it.
Absolutely.
And it sucks to say that, because I don't want to do that, but like it's part of the album, the artwork, and it sucks.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm going to give the artwork a 0 out of 10, because, I mean, people did put it.
All right, well, let's look at the single covers. Wildest Dreams is garbage. That album, it looks like Virtual 11 artwork.
Virtual 11, I think. You mean, like, for the singles?
Yeah. That's really...
I think it's a little bit better than the Virtual 11 stuff, but it's still, not good at all.
I mean, the Rainmaker one, too, is terrible.
The Iron Maiden Wildest Dreams singles cover is Eddie with the top hat from the video. They just screenshotted the clip from the video. That's it. Yeah. That's what the artwork is.
I mean, the DVD cover is like a little better, I guess. It has like the cars on it. That video is atrocious too. The Wildest Dreams video.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
I hate crapping on Maiden because they're my favorite band, but I'm gonna be like brutally honest. Like, their artwork is as entwined with their band as any other band's artwork's ever been, and it sucks. This album's artwork sucks.
Yeah, it's not good at all. There's no
Death on the Road is the only plus side. That artwork's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. Undertaker Eddie, that's sweet. But like, I think Bruce was talking about, when he was talking about Final Frontier, we'll talk about, I don't want to mention what he said in particular, but he said the art on that album gave it like a timeless quality, and we'll talk about that when we talk about Final Frontier. But there is no timeless quality to the Dance of Death artwork, if that's singles covers or the album cover.
Even the Brave New World cover, as simplistic as it is almost classic now for how long it's been out. Exactly. Just the image of, you think of Brave New World, you think of that cover.
And it wasn't bad either. This is going to go down as being something that
it is the worst.
The hugest mistake in metal history, probably, for album covers.
I think what they should do is re-release it when they remaster it and change the album cover. Because they've done it in the past with the No Prayer for the Dying artwork. They changed
also did
it.
It with Iron Maiden, too.
Yeah.
That cover.
Just, I'm not saying, like, completely switch it, but just get rid of the crap around Eddie and just leave, like, a new Grim Reaper Eddie there standing with his arm out. That'd be okay. Or maybe have some of the, like, monk-like figures standing behind him. That's just my suggestion. Steve, if you're out there listening, re-release Dance of Death in the future. When you remaster it, change the artwork.
Please.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I'm giving the total artwork a 3 out of 10.
I'm giving it, like, a 1.5. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's high. That's just for my love for Iron Maiden.
I'm giving it a 3 out of 10 because I will say it's different, but yeah, it's bad. It's the worst. It's bad. It's the worst I've ever done. 3 out of 10 for the artwork. Listenability, we said was like what, 7.5 out of 10, and then Production's good, but not as good as Brave New World.
Yeah, I think it's a step down, which I think like a lot of this album is probably like a step down from Brave New World, but. Some of the guitars sound thin to me on some of the songs. I get what they're going for, that medieval folksy sound. So the guitars were going to be a little different, a little lighter. I'm a guitar guy. I like my guitars heavy and rich, and just have that like really thick tone. And that doesn't quite happen here as much as I'd like. I don't think Bruce sounds as good as he did on Brave New World.
I agree.
I just think everything's like a notch below Brave New World. It's just a step down.
On most of the songs, yeah. Some of
Passchendaele sounds awesome.
Yeah, Passchendaele, Journeyman, and Dance of Death sound great.
Yeah, those are like your bright spots. So, but otherwise, I think the production is a step down from Brave New World.
This studio is the Sarm West Studios in London, where they recorded this album. That's the first time they recorded in this studio. They also use the same studio for A Matter of Life and Death, and it sounds better. A Matter of Life and Death sounds way better.
I think we'll talk about this more when we talk about A Matter of Life and Death, but I think they knew that the production wasn't quite up to what it should have been. In A Matter of Life and Death, they go and they up everything. The guitars sound better and everything. The bass, Steve's bass sounds a lot better too.
What are you giving production on, Tom?
I guess, I don't know, like 6.5, 7.
I'm sitting at the 7 too.
Yeah.
But what are you rating the album?
I mean, it was hard because we built the album up and then we just like tore it down there at the end. I don't know, I'll let you go first this time. You give me your.
Let me go first.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this album an 8.5 out of 10. And the reason I give it such a high score is because of the minstrel sound. I think it's different. I love Journeyman. I think it's something unique, completely acoustic sounding album. I gave the original Iron Maiden an 8.5 out of 10. That album too, and I think it's on par with that. I think the production's lacking. I think the art isn't that great. Obviously, it's the worst they've done. But I think some of the songs on here make up for the lack of having crappy art and the lack of having listenability that isn't there. And I think that, this album has Passion on it. This album has Dance of Death on it. This album has Journeyman on it. This album has Wildest Dreams and Rainmaker on it, which aren't fantastic, but they're good songs. So, but in terms of, we just gave Brave New World like a 9.5 in a 9.4. This is a letter grade below that.
Yeah, like I said, everything was like a step down. Yeah, I'm giving the album an 8, and it's funny because like you gave it the same grade as you gave the original Iron Maiden album, and I gave it the same grade as I gave the original Iron Maiden album. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of interesting that like we both kind of view it on that kind of like a level. Yeah, the original Iron Maiden album had kind of like the same faults as this. Like the production was a little lighter. There were some mediocre songs.
Yep, that's where I stack it.
But there's also like Jules, like Phantom of the Opera. That's like your Passion Dale.
Exactly. So because of that,
yeah, it's just unbalanced.
I have to give it a decent amount, but that's the rating. We gave Dance of Death. Matt gave it an 8. I gave it an 8.5. Listen to it though. Still a great album. Don't look at the artwork, but listen to Passion Dale, listen to Journeyman, listen to Dance of Death. Make your own opinions. It's different sounding. It's not like Brave New World. Give credit to the band for that. Give credit to the band for being a little unique and a little different. And
yeah, they were figuring stuff out, and they figured it out on the next album.
Exactly, and they just took this, and much like Somewhere in Time, kind of and went a different direction with Seventh Son. They kind of do that, but with this, it's kind of like Dance of Death, and then they figure out what they want to do, and they make a Matter of Life and Death, which we'll talk about next, which is not a concept album, but it's probably the closest thing to a concept album they've done since Seventh Son. But hey, guys, as always, thanks for listening to A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beast. I'm Joe Labriola.
And I'm Matt Wagner.
If you want to listen to Dance of Death, put it in now. And remember, do what you want, say what you want, no one can take it away.